Hello, everyone, and welcome to Legal Lens USA. Today, we bring you one of the biggest and most transformative stories in modern immigration history, a sweeping and unprecedented immigration reform that has just been passed, reshaping the entire legal landscape. Millions of immigrants across the United States have suddenly found their lives turned upside down as Congress has officially approved a groundbreaking new immigration law that completely redefines what it means to feel safe and secure in America. For the first time in decades, even long-term green card holders are no longer fully protected. This isn't just another policy update or routine amendment. What happened in Washington represents one of the most comprehensive and far-reaching reforms in U.S. history, a decision that could influence the nation's immigration system for generations to come. Stay tuned as Legal Lens USA breaks down every major change, who will be affected, what this means for immigrants, families, and communities, and how this law could reshape the meaning of belonging in America. For the first time in many years, both Republicans and Democrats have united to pass a rare bipartisan immigration reform package. Lawmakers are calling it a balanced approach, one that rewards immigrants who make positive contributions to society while imposing far stricter penalties on those who violate U.S. laws. At its foundation, this new legislation transforms how the federal government views and manages all non-citizens. Whether you hold a student visa, a temporary work permit, or even a lawful permanent residency card, you now fall under a single unified enforcement category. In simple terms, anyone who is not a U.S. citizen will face the same level of federal scrutiny and enforcement. For millions who once believed their legal status guaranteed security, this marks a dramatic and unsettling shift in America's immigration system and how protection is defined. One of the most controversial aspects of this new law involves DUI offenses, driving under the influence. Under prior immigration rules, deportation was generally reserved for serious or repeated criminal conduct. However, this reform changes that entirely. Even a single DUI conviction or simply admitting to DUI-related behavior can now trigger deportation proceedings. It doesn't matter if your state categorizes it as a minor misdemeanor. At the federal level, it is now officially classified as a deportable offense. This means one mistake, even without a formal conviction, could result in losing your visa, work permit, or green card. Lawmakers justify this tough stance by arguing that DUI offenses pose a major threat to public safety and often lead to avoidable tragedies. Their message is clear: immigrants will now be held to the highest behavioral standards imaginable. The new legislation also expands the so-called grounds of inadmissibility. Under this rule, anyone convicted of or admitting to DUI-related conduct will be deemed inadmissible to the United States. In practice, this means they cannot legally enter the country. For those already living here, such an admission or conviction can permanently block them from applying for immigration benefits in the future. This impacts not just new applicants, but also people attempting to renew visas, adjust their status, or apply for citizenship. Immigration attorneys warn that this change could end the long-standing dreams of many families who have lived law-abiding lives for decades, but now face devastating consequences for past mistakes. Beyond that, this reform enforces some of the toughest deportation policies in U.S. history. Any non-citizen convicted of a DUI, no matter how the state defines it, can be placed in federal deportation proceedings. The federal standard overrides local classifications, meaning even if your state considers the offense minor, immigration authorities will treat it as a serious deportable crime. This effectively ends the belief that green card holders have near permanent protection. Under this new system, a green card is no longer a guarantee of stability or safety. It is a conditional privilege that can be revoked after a single error. Another major shift involves how the government now defines good moral character, a key standard required for becoming a U.S. citizen. For decades, immigrants could demonstrate this quality through lawful conduct, tax compliance, and community service. But now, even one DUI conviction automatically disqualifies an applicant from meeting that moral standard. This means someone who has lived in America for 20 or 30 years, raised a family, worked hard, and paid taxes could be permanently barred from naturalizing because of one mistake. Experts, lawyers, and immigrant rights advocates are reacting strongly to these changes. Many argue that the law unfairly punishes punishes people for isolated lapses in judgment and fails to distinguish between serious and minor misconduct. They fear it could create a culture of fear, discouraging immigrants from reporting crimes, cooperating with police, or seeking help when needed. Conversely, supporters insist the reform is a necessary step toward accountability and safety, arguing that those seeking permanent residency or citizenship must uphold the highest standards of personal responsibility. To them, this law draws a clear line between privilege and accountability, defining who truly earns the right to stay. It's worth noting that not every part of this legislation is restrictive. The reform introduces faster visa processing times, new opportunities for immigrants with specialized skills, and clearer pathways to legal employment. These provisions could benefit professionals and skilled workers, though many immigrant families and laborers will likely feel the burden of the harsher inadmissibility and deportation measures far more heavily. For millions of immigrants now living across the United States, one fact is undeniable: the margin for error has vanished. A single mistake, even one once considered minor, can now cost a person their legal status, job, family stability, and future in America. This new law serves as a stark wake-up call. Citizenship is the only true protection. Until you hold that safeguard, every choice and every record matters more than ever before. As America redefines its immigration landscape, this reform sparks a deeper national debate about fairness, forgiveness, and what it truly means to belong in a country built by immigrants. The question now is whether this marks a new era of justice or a harsher chapter of exclusion. The answer will depend on how the law is enforced and how immigrants, advocates, and lawmakers respond in the months ahead. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an important update from Legal Lens USA. Stay informed, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next video.